Hey all, here at OS Reviews, you're watching our hands-on review of the Newyes SyncPen. This is a smart pen that saves and digitizes all of your handwritten notes because it captures all of your content and then sends it over to your companion app on the phone or tablet. Now, this is not the first time that we've seen a concept like this. In fact, the technology has been around for a few years now. We've done a review on the LiveScribe Sky Pen a few years back that has a very similar concept. Basically, it works with their special notebook paper that has lots of tiny micro dots on it, and then the pen itself essentially has an infrared camera sensor that as you are drawing on that special paper, it's able to recognize where you're drawing and then of course sending that information using Bluetooth to your smartphone. Otherwise, it's also the smallest smart pen yet. It's super lightweight and feels really just like a regular ballpoint pen when you're using it, compared to the past editions like LiveScribe Sky, which were really large and bulky. Some of its features include transcription, even recognition, so it can automatically translate your handwriting into digitized typed notes, which are a lot easier to search back. You can also play back as you are handwriting it in real time and speed it up. You can share it and save it to your Google Drives, Evernotes, so on and so forth. The pen lasts for about 8 hours on a single charge and charges up using micro USB. You can also use it to record voice memos as well, which is pretty cool. Now, one of the new features here, though, is it also has pressure sensitivity. At least it claims to detect up to 10,024 levels, just like on a Wacom pen. Previous smart pens like the LiveScribe weren't able to do that, so regardless of how hard you pressed, it would send that same image over to the app. And this originally was a Kickstarter campaign that was pretty successful a few months back, and it's now found on Amazon. Inside, we've got the notebook itself, which is definitely more premium than what LiveScribe included. Many of those other competitors forced you to buy paper directly, but this gives you some free samples. It's really like a diary, and it says Newyes Note, has a fake leather texture to it, and looks quite professional for conferences and for business situations. It says, keep the records of your notes. You can write your name there. And then inside here, we have just all the papers and pages, including even a divider that helps you remember the last page you were on. And it goes all the way up to a numbered, as you can see, 160 pages. Now, here's a page that if we look very closely on, you can recognize it has some special dots printed inside. Those are the micro dots that the camera located on the rear of the pen is able to pick up and then send over to the app, in conjunction with the pressure sensitivity, which is probably done through the tip. Here's a quick start guide with the companion app again, and here is a test paper that you can use to write on to see if everything is working at the beginning. We have a micro USB charging cable. We have some spare refills for the ballpoint pen, which should be just standard sized. So if we take a closer look at the pen, it really is quite a portable size. Here's a Sharpie. You can see that the Newyes SyncPen is even smaller than this Sharpie in terms of its diameter, so it really is super portable. You can't tell that it's an unusual pen at all by the dimensions. It is built entirely out of aluminum, so it feels like a really premium stylus, like the Surface Pen or the Apple Pencil, has a slightly triangular shape to it, which makes gripping it also feel a bit more natural. Now, we also have access to the cap itself, which we can remove to grant access to the pen tip. The cap is pretty well designed, so we can also cap it over the rear and still have the LED status light visible. There's also a power key on the very top, which I forgot to mention, that you can tap for a few seconds to turn it on. You'll hear a beep, there's a mono speaker, and then the light here will turn white, as you can see there, and you can start connecting it to your app. And we can now see the pen, the A677, it even has a MAC address. Tap on connect, there's another beep as confirmation, and we are done. We can tap on Notebook, which is going to work with their included notebook that has, again, 160 pages. That's been more pre-programmed. I can tap on LCD Pad if I have single pieces of paper like this that I can probably print out myself, that I can doodle with individually as separate pages of notes. And there's also a scan feature. So that probably means if you are simply using this as a regular pen, if the battery is out, or if you're just using a regular pencil on a piece of paper, you can also scan it in using the camera on the phone or tablet, and that will save the note as a digital copy. It's kind of just like using the camera. So let's say we want to try the LCD Pad first, and we can simply create a note by tapping on the plus. I can enter a title. For example, this is just going to be a demo, tapping on select, and I can also create a tag like this is simply a journal entry and save that. So let's try it out just by writing hello, this is a test. And you can see that it's actually working pretty well. So the top of the paper here is actually where it appears on screen. So if I put a small dot maybe on the top of this corner, you can see that it does appear pretty much on the top of the tablet screen as well. If I tap on the screen here, nothing happens. I can also perhaps zoom in using 2 fingers just to see it in a slightly larger font. You can actually write pretty small in terms of text, such as, let's write tiny test, and you can see that's actually captured over surprisingly all the details, so it is quite impressive in terms of the level of DPI that you can get. Otherwise, the ink itself that they include is actually pretty good. It seems to flow quite easily. It's more like a gel pen, so it's easy to write with. The one thing to keep in mind though is because there is a camera sensor down below here, you have to use it in this particular orientation. If you are kind of reversing it or if the camera sensor is blocked, it's not going to pick up anything. I've done a little bit of writing. Let's say I want to erase something. I can tap on the eraser, and that actually doesn't correspond to you erasing something in real time here, but rather you have to now use your finger with the tablet's display. So I can erase this dot, for example, if it doesn't do anything, and maybe even also this tiny part, and that just is deleted from view. Maybe also want to delete this sentence here. With that being said, the highlighter is actually done with the pen. So I can do things like underline this next portion here, and you can see that it's actually showing up as a highlighted portion on the screen. We can also change the color of the highlighter by tapping on it. So for example, yellow might be a more traditional test. So this is maybe something that I want to now highlight again as yellow underneath. And we can also play back the entire action that we took with writing back all the notes, including speeding it up to 4 times, as you can see there. So hello, this is a test, tiny test, and all of this is happening in front of our eyes. So this is actually a pretty cool feature, especially for students and for note takers to see how things were inputted. Sharing can also work onto social media and even download it as a 10-second video. Going back into the main menu, this note will now be saved and shows up as something I've written today, the hashtag which I can now search through in terms of the tagging feature. Now if we try switching over to the notebook, we can do that. Just tap on the newest note, and as you put down your first stroke, it's going to basically capture and open up that first page. It will be also saving along, and as you can see here, it's telling us it's saved onto the first page, which is indeed correct. So it's just going to automatically recognize all the pages of the notebook that it has. Finally, if we take a quick look at the scan feature, we can allow access to the camera here, and basically we capture that page that we've written on. We can change the positioning of the piece of paper, and afterwards tap on next, and basically now save this as a piece of paper. I can enhance it, turn it into a raw black and white image, for example, and then finish it and save it. So it's going to consolidate all of your digital note-taking into this one application sorted by different categories of pieces of paper, single pieces, notebooks, and scanned-in pages. So that's more or less it as far as our quick hands-on review of the Newyes SyncPen. All in all, it's the smallest and most lightweight smart pen that we've seen yet, a category of products that hasn't seen too much development over the past few years, unfortunately. The only critique I have would be the fact that the price still is quite high. Again, $120 I think is pretty steep, considering that these days we do have alternatives, options like a regular Wacom pen that you may have with a tablet like a Samsung Galaxy tablet, even the iPad with the Apple Pencil, or if you have something like a Lenovo Yoga Book that we have here. Other options such as the Rocketbook Wave also exist, which allows you to reuse a notebook, and then even though it doesn't have a smart pen component, you can also download one of their companion apps or many of the other scan and go apps these days, which can record what you've written in and save it on your phone. So the idea of something like this, which kind of saves it in real time, does add a level of precision and security. It's a bit more simple than having to scan every page, but it is at a cost of $120, which I think is a little steep. And since it is using technology which already exists, I was hoping that they can get the price a little lower. And hopefully if this is a successful product, maybe in the second generation they can slash the price. I personally think if it's under $100, it would be a lot more attractive. Final thing to keep in mind is, again, it still requires proprietary paper, just like on the LiveScribe pens, which means that, again, if the paper runs out, you have to buy more or print more yourself. They give you some samples on their website to do that. But again, it's not something that will work with every single piece of paper, just because it is looking for something special using that infrared camera on the very bottom. But as a whole, it is very precise, works really quite well with that built-in Bluetooth, has long battery life, and has the sleekest and smallest form factor yet. So if if you do want something for seamless note-taking and drawing purposes as a student, as a business person, and you do want to use physical paper as opposed to digital paper, like on an iPad, a Surface, or on any other tablet really these days, this is still an interesting option to consider if you want something that gives you that physical copy in addition to a digital copy to reference later on. You can check out more details in the links down below if you're interested, but for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's the latest dedicated smart pen, the Newyes SyncPen.